buy versus rent on a $400,000.
Okay.
So we'll have Evan pull that one up next here.
Already there.
Okay, so this is a $400,000 house that you're going to buy versus a $400,000 house that you're going to rent. So on the top left, you can see on buying year one, you got principal and interest, you got your taxes, insurance, PMI, all that stuff there. Total monthly expenses is $25.35. Rent, now this is just what the system pulled it. This would be average rent for a $400,000 house in Hennepin County.
Okay.
So you can see $25.56. You got renter's insurance at $38 a month, so $25.94. Okay. So the cash flow difference, and I did this over 10 years. Okay. So the cash flow difference is $31,457. What does that mean? That means that over 10 years, your straight out-of-pocket dollars that you're going to pay is going to be $31,457 more to rent than to buy. Okay, because your rent is going to increase at a 2% annual increase, as you see there, and so the straight out-of-pocket is going to be $31,400 more if you rent. Now, when you rent, what do you get at the end of the day? Nothing.
Nope.
You got to live there.
Well, you get to pay your landlord's mortgage off.
Right, but you got
That's pretty sweet.
Yep.
But you got no equity.
For her.
Right? You got no equity, no tax benefits, anything like that, right? So over those 10 years, the appreciation gain, and I just used a 4% appreciation on this. Okay, so you can see that down there, $400,000 at 4% a year. That's the average over the last 40 years, so that's why we went with that. So you're going to have $192,000 worth of appreciation in that house. So you got $192,000 of free money that you got by just owning that house. Okay? The amortization gain, which is basically how much principal balance you've paid off $78,116. Okay? So if you go down at the end, the net gain of buying the home after 10 years, you're $260,000 richer by owning a house versus renting, and that takes all factors into consideration.
Yep. And you're using a 4% appreciation,
right,
which I think is
low.
Is conservative. I mean, that's very low. It's $250,000, folks. It's more than $250,000 net gain by buying a home rather than renting a home. And you got, even though the inventory of homes for sale is very, very low, there's still more homes for sale than there are for rent.
Yeah.
So you have far less options renting. And I would also challenge that, a house that is going to cost you $2,500 to own is going to cost you quite a bit more than that to rent.
Yeah,
in most cases, this is Hennepin County, Hennepin County stats. But if you look at other metro areas, we're seeing rental costs of rents quite a bit higher on the same property.
So if you go to the top here, if you see the rent at year 10,
yep.
So buying year one, well, the nice thing about a 30-year fixed mortgage is that your principal and interest payment stays the same. The only thing that's going to change are taxes and insurance.
Yep.
Right? Your rent's going to change. So on year 10, instead of paying $2,556 for rent, year 10 you're paying $3,055.
So here's my thing that I'm going to add on to this too, is if you're renting a single family home, the chances of you actually being in it for 10 years in this kind of market are pretty low.
Yeah.
Because what's going to happen is 3 or 4 years from now, someone's going to buy that house from the person who has had you paying their mortgage.
Sure.
And then they're going to say, well, I really want to live here. So at the end of this year's lease, I'm moving in and you're moving out. And so there's that where it's like, oh, well, not only do you have to deal with the fact that you're paying more per year, but you're also probably going to have to pay for a move in the middle of this. Because I think the chances are very low that you're going to rent a comparable home for that whole 10-year stretch without getting the boot.
Yeah, I think that's absolutely true. I mean, there's far more stability in owning a home than renting.
Yeah, the only way you're getting kicked out of your house if you own it is if there's a natural disaster.
Right.
Or if you don't pay your mortgage.
You should quit paying the mortgage.
Right.
But on rentals, you'll see most leases are a year. Then they just automatically go to month to month. Some are 2 years. But that rarely do you see a residential lease more than 2 years. And then it just automatically goes into month to month after that. So great example. It's over $250,000.
So the next one I did was a $600,000 home. Someone's like, well, you're going to really rent a $600,000 house? Yeah.
Yeah.
There's a lot there. And it's becoming more and more prevalent because home prices are they're sliding up. They're going up. So that's definitely becoming more and more popular where you're renting higher end homes. So there's more higher end like that for rent.
Yep.
And so same situation here. Buying year one, you can see your $2,656 for principal and interest. Your taxes is $895. That's taxes, insurance, PMI. That's the whole thing. So you got a total monthly payment of $35.51. Your first year rent payment in Hennepin County for that house is $38.61. But on year 10, now your rent is $46.14 on year 10 for that thing. So cash flow difference straight out of pocket when making your mortgage payments versus paying rent, $73,500 over 10 years. You can see that their home appreciated $288,000, and the amortization gain, which is your principal that you got, the buy down that you got there, is $111,000. So that's a total of $420,444 after 10 years. So you're $420,000 richer or more wealthy by owning a $600,000 house versus renting that house over a 10-year period.
I'm trying to see if I have any
That's a big
Snoop
number,
Dogg
folks.
music. $420,000.
That is a big number. That would be a good Snoop Dogg song.
That's a lot of green right there. Look at that. $420,000. That's a whole nother house. That's that whole first house that we were talking about.
It's the whole first house.
So the other cool thing that this thing does, if you go to the bottom, it goes year by year, right? So if you bought that $600,000 house and you had to sell it after year one, you were actually losing $5,400.
Yep.
Because this system takes in the cost to sell and things like that, right? And so people are like, well, 10 years, I probably won't be there 10 years. So I mean, it's really not that much, right? Well, you can look at it. After year two, you're $33,000 ahead.
Yeah, look at year 4, 116 grand.
116. It only takes 4 years, and you're $116,000 ahead of the game, and that's all factors coming into play.
I think that's a key thing. There's a lot of people that think, well, I'm moving to the Twin Cities for this job. It's a contract position. I'm only going to be there 2 or 3 years. Yeah. We might as well just rent because the housing market's crazy right now. I've literally had this conversation with someone. It's like, no. You should buy a house. Even if you don't intend to be a landlord, you don't want to have a property rental company manager after you leave, you think you don't want to be tied up in that, that's fine. If you're going to be here for more than a year, it makes sense to buy. It absolutely makes sense to buy if you can make it happen.
Yep.
Yeah, this is a great example. And folks, whatever your budget is or whatever your price range is or whatever your current rental rate is, say you're renting, we can plug these numbers in for you. So we can put in what you're currently renting, we can put in what you want to buy, run all the numbers, and you can take a look at what it means over 1 to up to to 10 years.
And we can adjust all this stuff too. If you think, well, my rent's going to be locked in for 3 years, there's going to be no gains. I know my landlord. I've got this great lease. That's great. We can adjust all those numbers, right?
Yeah, we can adjust appreciate. I mean, literally everything in here is customizable. We just plug what you want to plug in and spits out this report. You're good.